Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned? Welcome. Over 11 million women suffer from this common disease a year. And what I'm talking about is urinary tract infection. And what we're going to do is find out how we can avoid getting this debilitating infection. And with me is Sherry Torkos, who is a pharmacist, a natural pharmacist versus what you call a drug pharmacist. And I would like to welcome Sherry.
Thanks for having me on your program.
My pleasure. Let's start at the beginning. How did you become a pharmacist and transition into becoming a natural pharmacist?
Well, as a young child, actually as a teenager, I suffered for many years with an undiagnosed medical condition that made me more aware of the body's amazing ability to heal itself when given the right elements. And I suffered as a teenager with celiac disease, which caused me to become malnourished and very, very ill. And through the course of my journey and being misdiagnosed many times, put on a lot of different medications that were ineffective for me, it was finally discovered that I had celiac disease. And then I was put on a proper gluten-free diet, and I started taking nutritional supplements in therapeutic doses to restore my health. And then I went on to study pharmacy, and I always had in the back of my mind just how important nutrition is and how it shouldn't be overlooked, and the power of prevention. So when I started practicing pharmacy, I took it upon myself to incorporate holistic strategies into the way I practice. So not just dealing with prescription medication, but also spending time to educate my patients on the role of nutrition, proper diet, the appropriate use of supplements such as vitamins and herbs, and how that can help to not just treat conditions but also prevent illnesses as well.
Now, you practice in Canada, and you said that you have patients because in New York you go to a drugstore, you hand your prescription in, or you talk to them and say, okay, I need this for that. How does that really differ here in Canada versus the United States?
Well, I was actually trained in the United States. I received my Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy from the Philadelphia College of Pharmacy and Science, and I had spent time practicing pharmacy in the state of Pennsylvania. I've worked in a hospital setting, also in a community pharmacy setting, and then I've also worked in the Canadian healthcare system in the pharmacy and also in a hospital environment. And there are some similarities and certainly some differences in the healthcare systems, but as a pharmacist, myself, I do a lot of consultations, so patients come to see me not just for prescription medication, but when they need advice on what supplements they should be taking, if there are interactions between their drugs and their supplements. And I know that here in New York as well, that you have many wonderful pharmacies where they will provide advice and guidance on both the use of drugs and natural products. I've seen pharmacists at Duane Reade and also Wilner Chemists, which are some popular pharmacies in the New York area. I've had the opportunity to meet some of the pharmacists in these locations and really see what they do on the front lines. And I see more and more pharmacists today are trying to provide patients with options. It's no longer just the mainstream medical approach. More and more patients today are interested in what they can do to prevent diseases, and especially those that have come from a European or an Asian background where natural medicines are considered the mainstay of therapy. For example, people that have come from China, Japan, different areas of Europe where natural products, vitamins and herbs, are actually prescribed by doctors and often covered as part of the healthcare system. We see a lot of people that have those backgrounds, but also some of the younger, the newer generation that's just really interested in going drug-free and natural. And for certain conditions, there is a very strong rationale for using natural products, either with conventional medicines or in place of.
All right, let's go to urinary tract infection. What causes that to begin with, and how do you get it? Is it passed from person to person, or is it from the sitting on toilet seats in public places?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of misconceptions about urinary tract infections. They are not sexually transmitted. In other words, it's not caused, well, it can be provoked by sexual intercourse, but it's not something that, for example, if your husband has one, he's going to pass it to you. Urinary tract infections are caused by, most commonly by a bacteria called E. coli, which is a bacteria that is normally present in our body, especially in the rectal area. And when that E. coli bacteria migrates from the rectal area towards the urethra, and the urethra is the tube that carries the urine out of our body, if bacteria gets into the urethra, it can travel up into the bladder, multiply, and cause an infection. Now, women are at much greater risk of having urinary tract infections. In fact, urinary tract infections are the second most common infection in women. It's a huge cause of lost work days. In fact, it's estimated that about 11% of women over age 18 will have a urinary tract infection every year. And some women get them frequently, like several times a year. So being a female is a risk factor, and the reason for that is that in women the urethra is much shorter, so it's easier for bacteria to get from the rectal area, travel into our body, and get up into the bladder. But also women go through pregnancy, menopause, and the hormonal changes that occur during these times increase the risk of infection. And there are other risk factors as well. For example, getting dehydrated. If you don't drink enough water, your urine can become more concentrated. There's a greater chance of bacteria growing. If you use a diaphragm, diaphragms are associated with an increased risk of urinary tract infections. And there's even some evidence that if your partner is using a condom or spermicidal foam, that will increase your chance of getting a urinary tract infection because it increases bacterial growth. Also, those that have a compromised immune system, people with diabetes, HIV, they're also at greater risk of getting a urinary tract infection.
What happens when you get an infection? What goes on in your body? How do you know you've got one?
Well, in some cases, they're actually asymptomatic. That means that you have bacteria in your urine, but you might not even have any symptoms. And that's why doctors monitor pregnant women very closely during pregnancy. They check their urine because bacteria could be present in the urine, but there could be no symptoms. But as the infection progresses, once the bacteria start to multiply or colonize in the bladder, often you'll find discomfort, you have frequency, so if you feel like you have to go to the bathroom frequently, but then when you try to void, you're not able to pass much urine. Sometimes there's burning, stinging pain when you urinate. And for some folks as well, there could be bleeding. If you notice your urine becomes cloudy, changes color, has a stronger odor, that's a sign of a urinary tract infection as well. And if the bladder infection or the urinary tract infection goes untreated, the bacteria can actually travel up into the kidney and cause a kidney infection, which is known as pyelonephritis. And the symptom of that is most often fever and also lower back pain.
What color should our urine be on a normal, healthy female?
Well, it depends. First, your urine first in the morning is going to be darker in color because it's more concentrated. If your urine is cloudy, looks murky, that could be a sign of infection, but the urine should typically be a very light golden yellow color. If it's really dark yellow, it could be it's just very concentrated, but also keep in mind if you're taking multivitamins, that can cause your urine to change color as well. And some medications can cause changes in the color of your urine.
All right, since you can get a UTI very easily, how would you make sure you don't get this?
Well, there are a couple of simple things that women and also men can do to help reduce their likelihood of getting a urinary tract infection. And the first thing is to drink plenty of water. You want to drink water to flush your kidneys, your bladder, and to prevent bacteria from sticking inside of your bladder. So drinking lots of water, preventing dehydration. Also for women, it's really important after they use the toilet to wipe from front to back. If you wipe yourself from back to front, then that can actually cause bacteria from the rectal area to get introduced into the vaginal area where your urethra is, and that can cause infection. So proper wiping is really important. Bathing and cleaning the genital area daily and before and after sexual activity is very important. You want to make sure that you void and clean yourself before and after sex. That's also very important. There are also certain foods and supplements that can help with the prevention of a urinary tract infection. For example, one of the most widely known natural remedies for preventing a urinary tract infection is cranberry. And it has a long history of use. It's been used for hundreds of years for prevention of bladder infections, but also for overall health. Now, cranberry, of course, is available in fruit. There's dried cranberries, cranberry juice, but most of the studies that have found positive effects with cranberry have utilized either pure cranberry juice or a concentrated cranberry supplement, such as Cran-Max. Some of the studies that did not find benefits with cranberry used juice cocktail or supplements that had inconsistent amounts of the active compounds that are in the cranberry. So I would say cranberry, and Cran-Max in particular, is probably one of the most well-researched methods for preventing urinary tract infections, and that's something that you can find at your local pharmacy. I've got a couple of supplements that I brought here just to show you, but if you go into Duane Reade, or if you go into Walgreens or the vitamin shop, you can ask your pharmacist. These are two different brands, but the products are called, you want to look for Cran-Max. So these are just called cranberry supplements, but look on the logo to see the words Cran-Max, and that's the particular one that has been clinically studied. In fact, there have been research studies comparing Cran-Max to antibiotics for prevention of urinary tract infections, and the researchers have found that the Cran-Max is equally effective to the antibiotics for prevention, but without the side effects. And as a pharmacist, that is something that I think is really important and also concerning. Sometimes if women or men are taking antibiotics, they can develop side effects such as upset stomach, diarrhea, thrush, secondary infections such as yeast infections, plus the overuse of antibiotics can lead to resistance. So I really believe it's important to only use antibiotics when you really absolutely need them, but for prevention, you're better off to try cranberry.
How often should you have cranberry in your diet? Do you drink it daily, have some cranberries as a snack? Because there's also full of sugar, so you can't eat too many of them. But what would be the ideal situation to have cranberries?
Well, I would suggest adding cranberries to your diet just for their overall benefits. Cranberries are rich in antioxidants, fiber, vitamins, and minerals. You can put dried cranberries on your cereal. You can enjoy fresh cranberries in different recipes and salads. But to get the bladder benefits, the consistent benefits for preventing urinary tract infection, I would recommend taking the Cran-Max supplements. So cranberries are great to add to your diet. I would suggest adding dried or fresh cranberries to salads, to recipes. You can add them to your oatmeal in the morning, your cereal. You can put them in yogurt. But to get the active amount that you need to prevent urinary tract infections, you're best off to either have pure cranberry juice, which you can find at health food stores, or to look for supplements that contain the ingredient Cran-Max. That's just an ingredient that's sold by a variety of different brands. That's the one that has been clinically studied. And how the cranberry actually works to prevent urinary tract infections is really interesting, because it actually changes the structure of the bacteria so that the bacteria can't adhere to your bladder wall and gets flushed out of your body. So it doesn't kill the bacteria. It's not like taking an antibiotic. The cranberry isn't going to destroy the bacteria, but it renders the bacteria inactive so that it can't stick to the bladder wall and instead gets flushed out of the body.
There's an abundance of supplements on the market, and it's kind of hard to figure out which ones you need to take to maintain a healthy urinary tract. What would you suggest?
Well, for most women, I recommend a good multivitamin as the foundation of your supplement program. And the reason for that is that you want to ensure that your body is getting all the essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants it needs to function optimally. If you're deficient in certain nutrients, such as zinc or selenium or vitamin D, that can actually hamper the ability of the immune system to fight infections. So from an immune system perspective, a multivitamin can be helpful, but just for overall health and well-being, to make sure you're getting all essential nutrients. So you can look for, this is a multi with antioxidants that I picked up at Duane Reade, and I like this because it's designed for women. It's a vegetable capsule with no animal byproducts, no dyes, no fillers. So you could pick up a multi with antioxidants as the foundation for your program. And then on top of that, you may also want to consider taking a probiotic. Now, probiotics are beneficial or friendly bacteria, and what they do is they help to prevent infection by the bad bacteria. So the beneficial bacteria, there's been evidence to show, helps not only with fighting off urinary tract infections, but also fighting off yeast infections, which are very common in women as well. So you can find, this is a probiotic that is stable at room temperature, so you don't have to refrigerate it, but there are some products that do require refrigeration. So for urinary tract health, I think my foundation recommendation would be a good multivitamin, a good probiotic, and a good cranberry product.
Now, one of the other things that you are very knowledgeable about is the glycemic index. I have no clue what that is. I don't understand it, but I hear it all the time. Can you enlighten us on that?
Absolutely. The glycemic index is a scale that measures the impact of carbohydrates on our blood sugar and how quickly they break down into sugar. Foods that break down really quickly into sugar have a high glycemic index, and in that category you would find foods such as white bread, white rice, foods that are made with white flour, foods that are very high in sugar, like a lot of the cakes, the pies, and the cookies. They tend to be higher in the glycemic index, and what that means is that they break down in your system very quickly into sugar, and as a result of that, your blood sugar level will rise very quickly after eating those foods. So those are high glycemic foods, and they're thought to be not good for health, because eating foods that are very high in the glycemic index have been associated with high blood sugar and insulin resistance, which leads to type 2 diabetes, weight gain, fluctuations in emotional well-being and cravings for more carbohydrates. There's also some evidence that high glycemic foods are associated with increased triglycerides and increased risk of heart disease. So it's ideal to try and minimize your consumption of foods that are highly refined and processed, of those types of carbohydrates. On the other hand, low glycemic foods, these are foods that break down more slowly into sugar. And examples of these types of carbohydrates would be most of your vegetables, with the exception of potatoes and carrots. A lot of the fruits are low in the glycemic index, especially those that are very high in soluble fiber, such as apples, berries. They're very high in fiber and nutrients, which makes them break down more slowly into sugar. You'll also find certain breads that are lower in the glycemic index, such as rye bread and pumpernickel bread, sprouted breads, and breads that have a lot of fiber and seeds added to them. They're low glycemic. So those are the types of carbohydrates you want to eat more of for better blood sugar balance and also for sustained energy and well-being.
For an example, what do you recommend people have for breakfast that's low in glycemic energy, so that index rather, so that they don't get a sugar high and then crash an hour and a half later, and yet maintain perfect health?
Well, I can give you a couple of examples of good breakfasts. For starters, oatmeal, which is very high in soluble fiber. Oatmeal is an excellent breakfast food. The beta-glucans, which are present in oatmeal, have actually been shown to help lower cholesterol levels, so that can be powerful for prevention of heart disease and reducing cholesterol. So on top of your oatmeal, I would recommend sprinkling some nuts, some seeds, some cinnamon, maybe some fresh berries, or even frozen berries would be fine as well. Oatmeal would be top of my list. Another quick option would be to have yogurt with fresh fruit. And a third example would be having scrambled eggs or poached eggs with a whole grain toast, a multi-grain whole grain toast. All three of those meal options would be providing you with sustained energy and have a low glycemic impact. So rather than giving you a quick sugar rush, for example, the cinnamon bagel or a cookie or a breakfast tart, those things are not recommended, or even the sugary cereals, because they don't keep you feeling satisfied very long, and they cause your blood sugar to shoot up really high and then drop down low.
Everybody's on a diet. Well, not everybody, but most of us are on diets. How do you maintain a good GI and a UTI and basically good health, trying to lose weight? I shouldn't say lose, because once you lose something, you're going to find it, but maintain a good weight.
Well, I think to maintain a healthy body weight, it's really important to have the lifestyle habits in place that will support you in maintaining an ideal weight. For example, dieting. A lot of people look at dieting as a quick fix, short-term solution. They give up carbs, or they give up fats, or they go on a really low-calorie diet, and sure, they may lose weight, but typically, I think the statistics show about 90% of dieters gain that weight back. So to have long-term success with a weight loss program, it's really important to develop strategies that will ensure you will be able to keep the weight off, and that means not going with radical fad diets, but instead just eating healthy, eating small frequent meals, choosing healthy low glycemic carbohydrates, healthy fats, lean proteins, eating these small frequent meals throughout the day, and not overeating. I think as a society we just tend to overeat because we have an abundance of food, and when you overeat, those extra calories can get stored as fat. So nutrition, proper nutrition is really important. Also exercise. I have a background as a fitness instructor, and I'm very passionate about exercise. I think it's just critical, and the study after study has shown that those who exercise live longer, are leaner, have less risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even certain forms of cancer. So exercising daily, at trying to get at least an hour of physical activity daily is really important. And then on top of that, there are some supplements that may be helpful for those that are trying to lose weight. Now, there is no magic pill for weight loss, but if you're having trouble getting enough fiber in your diet, you may want to look for a fiber supplement. There are also some supplements that can help boost up the metabolism a bit, but none of those solutions will work unless you've also made the lifestyle changes to ensure you're able to maintain those results.
Now, you mentioned healthy fat foods. What's a healthy fat food?
Well, there are a lot of fats that are actually very important and good for us, and you know, fat gets a bad rap as being associated with obesity, but our body does need fat for energy. It needs fat for absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and just for proper functioning of so many systems in our body. Healthy fats, those that you want to try and include more of in your diet, would be things such as fish and fish oil, olive oil. Also, palm fruit oil is a healthy fat, not hydrogenated palm oil, but the actual palm fruit oil is very healthy as well. It has a balanced proportion of the saturated and the polyunsaturated fatty acids, and it's rich in antioxidants called tocotrienols. And that's something you can cook with, or you can add it to foods after they're cooked. Olive oil is great to add to salad dressings, but not ideal to cook with. So that's really the best way to enjoy olive oil. You also get healthy fats when you eat nuts and seeds, so having pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, walnuts, cashews, and avocados. Avocados also provide a good amount of the monounsaturated healthy fats.
It doesn't matter the time of year. It could be summer and you can get a summer cold. It could be winter and you can get a winter cold. What is the best way to prevent getting a cold at any time of the year?
Well, it's almost impossible to prevent getting a cold entirely, but there are things you can do to cut your chances. For example, we know that colds flourish between the months of October, November, and March, April. That's the cold and flu season in North America anyways, and that's because the viruses are more prevalent that time of year. We spend more time indoors, closer to one another, sharing germs. And having proper hygiene practices in place will help a great deal. For example, hand washing, trying to avoid rubbing your eyes, nose, or mouth, especially when you work in a close environment with others. If you're sharing keyboards, telephones, doorknobs with other people, that's often how colds are transmitted. Also being in a close environment, if someone sneezes or coughs and they aren't using a tissue, they're spreading those germs into the air and could infect nearby people. So prevention is really important from a hygiene perspective, making sure you eat foods that support good immune system health, such as foods that are rich in vitamin C, vitamin D, or take a vitamin C and D supplement. It's also important to include yogurt, probiotics in your diet to help optimize immune function health. And maybe consider supplements with certain things such as zinc. Also, North American ginseng has been researched for its immune boosting effects, and black elderberry extract, which is sambucol, has been shown to help boost your immune system and help cut your chance of getting sick. So those are a few things that you can do. If you do get sick and you come down with a cold, there are certain supplements, natural products that can help to halt or speed the healing. For example, zinc lozenges can help shorten the duration. They give you a bit of a metallic taste in your mouth, but they do help to shorten duration. Echinacea may be helpful as well, not as a preventative, but to help shorten the duration. And North American ginseng can help as well.
In the closing moments of the show, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, I would just like to encourage everybody to be proactive when it comes to your health. Certainly medications and conventional medicine is important and does provide benefits, but I think that it's equally important that we all take, do what we can to take a greater role in our health care by eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, getting enough sleep, managing your stress levels, using supplements to complement your diet. Those are some of the most important principles, I think, for good health and wellness that can help with both prevention of illness and optimizing well-being.
Well, thank you for joining us. And what are you doing to keep yourself healthy? You eating a lot of cranberries? I pop them like candy, and they're really good. Look forward to hearing from you. Write us here at The Woman's Connection. Bye now.